I have it on my phone.
It's always available right at your fingertips.
Round-the-clock coverage of local athletes.
High school sports coverage the way it's supposed to be.
I love what they did with the website.
Download the free app now. YourSportsEdge.com.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Herb Hayes Furniture and Mattress.
From the Weather Edge Weather Center, partly sunny skies today. Slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Today's high temperature up to 79 degrees. Partly cloudy tonight, low 60. Mostly sunny for Friday and Saturday. Friday's high 82. Saturday's high 84 degrees. Let's get our forecast today. Isolated shower, thunderstorm possible. Otherwise, partly sunny skies with a high near 79.
The holiday season is just around the corner. Perhaps you need to spruce up your home, or maybe you need some maintenance on your vehicle to get it road ready for holiday travel. And then let's not forget about purchasing all the gifts. At ABC Finance, we can help with loans from $500 to $12,000. Decisions are made quickly, usually within an hour. Apply online at abcfinanceonline.com or stop by our locations on Fort Campbell Boulevard in Hopkinsville and the Princeton Plaza in Princeton.
Get the care that you need to stay mentally and physically well from the convenience of your home. Health First Community Health Center is doing their part to help stop the spread. They're now offering telehealth services to keep you healthy at home. Scheduling a virtual visit with your medical or behavioral health provider is easy. All you need is a smartphone, tablet, or computer and internet access. Contact their office for an appointment at 877-667-7017. That's 877-667-7017. At Health First, your health is their first concern.
Hello friends, this is Donnie Baker with Audubell Hearing Center, and I'm here to tell you that not all hearing aids are created equal. They may look the same on the outside, but it's the brain on the inside that counts. Our new VIA hearing aids were recently awarded Time Magazine's Best 100 Inventions of 2019. Come experience the Audubell difference. Offices in Paducah, Murray, and Princeton. Call 270-554-1900 today.
Imagine this. It's late at night, it's cold and dark, and you have a flat tire. One never knows when old Bessie's going to cause you problems. There's only one place to call, Wallace Towing and Recovery in Princeton. Wallace Towing and Recovery is a 24/7 towing and recovery service. You can count on Wallace Towing and Recovery to get you safe and back on the road or to a repair shop. Wallace Towing and Recovery will jumpstart your vehicle, change a tire, deliver gas, unlock a door, or haul to the garage or scrapyard. Wallace Towing and Recovery has you covered in Princeton and surrounding areas. Call Wallace Towing and Recovery. Check them out on Facebook, and when you need a tow or roadside help, call Wallace Towing and Recovery at 270-963-9081.
There's never a good time for a collision, but thank goodness for Pro Collision Princeton. Collision repair is all they do, and they do it right. It's what you expect and what you deserve. Jim King and his staff have been in business 31 years. They are ASE and ICAR certified. Their facility is climate controlled, which means no moisture, which means a better repair. Serving Caldwell, Lyon, Crittenden, and Trigg counties. Thank you for your past business. Pro Collision Body Shop, a certified collision repair center, Princeton, Kentucky.
Chick-fil-A of Hopkinsville wants to salute the outstanding achievements of our area student-athlete. Each week, a student-athlete will be chosen based on academics, athletics, and achievements. Watch for the Chick-fil-A AAA Young Person of the Week at YourSportsEdge.com. Academics, athletics, and achievements. The Chick-fil-A AAA Young Person of the Week at YourSportsEdge.com.
It's time for your SportsEdge.com Sideline Report with Todd Griffin. Talking sports and more here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY and worldwide at WPKYonline.com. Here's your host, Todd Griffin.
Good morning, everyone. The Sideline Report is on the air from 1035 West Main Street in Princeton. This is Todd Griffin of WPKY Radio and your SportsEdge.com. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Got a busy show lined up for everyone today. WPKY's Bob Hayes is in the studio with us this morning, and we'll talk to him about a lot of things coming up. Also, Caldwell County boys soccer coach Tanner Reed is scheduled to be with us. Caldwell County Middle School football coaches Steve Kukihiko and Chris Ennis will join us on the show a little bit later as well. So, Bob, like I said, that's a busy show lined up for today.
Yes, and we're expecting some of those guys to start arriving shortly.
Yeah. got just a little early start today, on the air just a few minutes before we typically are, so that's good. And that'll give us a little bit of time to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals and the L.A. Dodgers last night, Bob. Sort of a tough game for Cardinals fans, but what a run through the month of September for the Cardinals.
Cardinals were fortunate to get into October by virtue of their 17-game winning streak and strong play the middle of September on, Todd. But it's one of those things throughout that whole game last night. I kept thinking we're squandering too many chances. Too many opportunities are going by the wayside, and I didn't know until this morning we were 0 for 11.
Yeah, 0
with
for
runners
11
in scoring position, and you can't win a baseball game like that, especially when you're only going to put one run up on the board and try to build from there. But it was a great year.
Yeah. All those key hits that came along during that 17-game winning streak, they were nowhere to be found last night.
And we were historically in that period a 7th, 8th, and 9th inning team scoring runs. So I kept thinking, get it to the 7th inning, get it to the 8th inning, get it to the 9th inning, but nothing happened.
Well, when Tyler O'Neill was at the plate late with a runner at second, I just felt certain he was going to get a little base hit there and drive that run in and put the Cardinals up 2-1. But like I said, the Dodgers pitching is really good, and you knew that was going to be a very low-scoring game going in the way both teams have been playing. And last night it was the Dodgers who got the big hit in the bottom of the ninth.
Extremely well-played game by both teams. But the Dodgers, their bullpen, I hadn't really seen many Dodger games this year, but they were lights out.
Yeah, they played really well, and that's a Dodgers team that won 106 games this year. So
and still could not win their division.
So now it's Dodgers and Giants, I guess, huh?
It's what it is, and it makes my friend Dennis extremely happy. He's a Dodger fan, but every time I've seen Joe Kelly this year pitch when the Dodgers have played the Cardinals, he's completely shut us down, and I was hoping they'd leave Scherzer in because we seem to be able to get to him more than we got to any of their reliever.
Well, and the Cardinals have had some postseason success against the Dodgers before, so they'd kind of been that team that the Dodgers did not want to see, but it worked out for L.A. last night.
Especially Clayton Kershaw. The Cardinals have his number, or had his number. I'm not sure what's happened the last time they faced each other, but the Cardinals really knocked him around in 2 or 3 occasions in the postseason.
Well, I was a little concerned last night when Alex Reyes came into the game for the Cardinals. He is a guy that I think has been overused this season. I think that management tried to stretch him out too many times on save situations, and by the end of the year, I think he was just gassed. I don't think he had the same stuff, the last month of the season and last night that he had, for the first 75% of the season.
When they warmed him up in about the 5th inning, I thought, good, let's get him in early so that if we do have something that doesn't go our way, we can still have some opportunities to maybe come back and score. But when he was warming up in the 9th inning, it certainly did not make me feel good.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of Cardinals fans were kind of holding their breath there, and he has really amazing stuff at times, but at other times, he just completely misses his spots, and that was just a big hanger that he threw up there last night that got hammered over the left field fence.
And he's such a pitcher that one, he'll bounce it in front of the plate. The next one will be right down the middle. The next one will be where Yachty has to strain to catch it. And I think they're trying to maybe stretch him out to be a starter.
Yeah.
Todd, I mean, it's from what I've heard on the radio, it takes him maybe 2-3 innings to figure out what kind of stuff he's got for that particular night. And with a 1-inning relief job, you don't have that luxury of finding out which pitch is going to work, when you can throw it, where you can throw it, and all that sort of stuff.
Well, with Reyes, that's a guy that was a starter, then went through all kinds of injuries, and when he came back, he kind of found a spot in the bullpen and kind of took over the closer's role just because there was nobody else there to do it.
He was 24 out of 24 save opportunities the first part of the season, but later in the season, I think you're right. I think he was overworked, just didn't have what he had in the first 4 months of the season, and that I'm sure was a factor last night.
Baseball is such a fickle sport, though, And I really don't like the one-game series at all. And I said that way before the Cardinals lost last night. As a matter of fact, I don't even like the second wild card. And without that, the Cardinals don't make it. So, this isn't after-the-fact stuff for me. If you're going to have a series, let's play a best of three if you're going to do that. And to me, baseball isn't really meant to be that one-game, winner-take-all kind of thing.
Well, and I guess they do it for various and sundry reasons about money, maybe part of it, and but you don't really have a chance to. Certainly, I'm okay with LA being in there. Winning the 106 games should qualify you for some postseason play, but still, we had that one-game shot at moving them aside.
Well, if there are three divisions, I don't mind having the one wild card as much to kind of balance the playoffs. And like you said, looking at the Giants and Dodgers this year, probably the two best teams in the National League, and they're both in the West. So probably is good to get that team in there that deserves to be in the playoffs. To me, when you get to the second wild card, it's kind of like the NFL is doing anymore. Once you start letting everybody in the playoffs, you've really watered down the regular season, and it just doesn't mean what it used to.
And I think that's a very true statement. But just looking at the opportunity last night that we had, we just only have ourselves to blame for not being able to get more than one run on the board, and we got that in the first inning, and we go 8 innings and go scoreless.
Well, tough day for Cardinals fans. I know Los Angeles Dodgers fans are rejoicing, but a long way to go in the playoffs. Used to be if you won that league championship series, you were in the World Series. Now, like I said, there's a lot of steps to get there.
Exactly, and just kind of summing up the Cardinals' year, I think next year really bodes well and bright because we picked up a couple starters toward the end of the season. Wainwright's back for another year. We got Dakota Hudson healthy and coming back. Flaherty should be a strong pitcher, and our three outfielders defensively are among the three best in the baseball. Their hitting's coming around. Carlson's going to be most likely the superstar in right field. Bader really coming into his own as a hitter, and Tyler O'Neill came into his own this year as a hitter.
An interesting dynamic brought in by that extra wild card, though, because the St. Louis Cardinals this season were a team that, without that extra wild card opportunity, would have shut things down a month and a half ago and would have been playing for next season.
Absolutely, because we were always seemingly 15, 16 games behind the Brewers, and they weren't going on a 13-game losing streak, even though we did cut their big lead, I think, down to 6 as the season ended. But no, that was the thing that maybe made us ready and get us primed for next year was that final 2.5 weeks of the season.
Talking this morning with Bob Hayes, WPKY sportscaster. Caldwell County soccer coach Tanner Reed is going to join us in just a bit here on the show, so stay with us. Need to get to a timeout. Back with more on the Sideline Report after this on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Get into shape and feel good at Trilogy Performance Sports. Trilogy offers a wide range of family-friendly classes as well as personal training, yoga, gymnastics, sports training, cardio, and weightlifting. Trilogy has something for everyone. Trilogy now offers an app with online workouts, live classes, nutrition tracking, and more. Search Trilogy Performance Sports in your app store. Use sign-up code 1824. For app info and more, follow them on Facebook.
Life is filled with moments. Moments we share with those we love, worry about, and strive to protect the most. At Woodman Life, we provide life insurance and retirement products to help protect you and your family so that you can enjoy all the moments to come.
This is Josh Ray, your local Woodman Life agent. Come see us at 1009 West Main Street or give us a call at 365-6111.
Certain eligibility and age restrictions apply. Woodman of the World Life Insurance Society, Omaha, Nebraska.
Shopping for furniture doesn't have to take forever, be a hassle, or feel like a chore. At Rooms for Less, you'll experience quality service when shopping the hottest lines the industry has to offer. A Rooms for Less sales representative will work with you one-on-one to ensure you find exactly what you need. Starting from scratch or upgrading old furniture has never been easier. You can also apply for up to 48 months of interest-free financing. Visit their Hopkinsville location on Fort Campbell Boulevard, next to McDonald's. Come shop with Rooms for Less today, your local furniture and mattress headquarters.
Don't use tires and wheels, where the customer is always number one. So when life's throwing you a number two, just remember, Dunks Tires and Wheels, because we'll be here for you. We sell used custom wheels and tires and do plug and patch repair. We have all tread styles and sizes in stock. Open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and on call for emergencies. Call 270-963-6391. Don't use tires and wheels, where the customer is always number one.
I think the word has gotten around that Raider Auction Company has 4 amazing farm equipment auctions each year, but people still say every day.
I didn't know you buy and sell equipment every day.
Well, they do. Delbert Raider has well over 40 years' experience. He's well known for his knowledge of used equipment, and he buys and sells every day. Financing available. Stop by Raider Auction Company, Skyline Drive, Hopkinsville. You don't have to wait for an auction.
We are back on the Sideline Report at 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Thanks for tuning in this morning. WPKY's Bob Hayes in the studio with us. And joining us now, Caldwell County boys soccer head coach Tanner Reed. The Tigers reaching the 7th District Championship game last night, but falling over at Madisonville, North Hopkins to the Maroons. Tanner, a good season so far for you guys, and best thing is it keeps going.
Yeah, we're very happy that we get to continue our run and advance to the regional tournament. Thanks for having me, by the way, gentlemen. Yeah, it's been a fun experience. The season's gone pretty well for us this year, and the team's looked better than it has over the past 2 seasons, for sure.
Well, and one thing, classic case of when you look at your guys' record, it doesn't show the advancements you guys have made this season, because I think there are 3 COVID forfeit losses on there, and I just don't think that's fair to tag those on there, but that's the way it is. But still, you guys have had a lot better season than that record looks like you have.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you look at our record and you think, they're kind of up and down, which to an extent is true. But yes, those COVID games on our losses make it look like we didn't have the kind of season that we wanted to, for sure.
Well, you get to the championship game of the district. It's been a while since you've been there. You get to go to the region for the first time since 2017, so you're stepping in the right direction.
Yes, we've said that since, I arrived 2 years ago. This is the start of the 3rd season with me, and each season we've made strides in some areas. We've gone back in some areas, but for the most part, we've been progressing and going forward and looking to the future. And the future's bright for this team if they will believe and buy in and trust what Coach Ball, myself, and even Coach Miller, who chimes in at times with great advice, if they'll listen to that, this team has a chance to do special things.
One thing you guys have kind of struggled with, though, you've had somebody hurt or somebody out with COVID situations or whatever. It's kind of been hard to get that same lineup out there every night for you guys.
It has, but at the same time, that might have been a blessing in disguise, because it gave Coach Ball and myself a chance to kind of try different things in our lineup without really a risk to it. It's like, well, we've got to do something different because, this player's out and this player's quarantined. We don't have a kid that normally plays that spot. Let's try this. An example of that is Hayden Ball against Paducah Tillman. He's normally a center mid, and we threw him up at striker just because Bob was hurting, and, we just didn't have another. Nick Adams was out for quarantine at that time. Kids we played at striker weren't available, so we tried Hayden Ball, and he scored a hat trick that night. So it's kind of been a blessing in disguise to try things out and see what kids are capable of.
I always find it interesting that, you show up for one game and there's a lot of offense, and you show up another game, there's a lot of defense. It's kind of like baseball sometimes, Bob, that you never know what you're going to get.
I think I prefer those 10-8 games.
Well, you guys had an 8-5 game with Henderson County earlier this year.
Yes, that was one of our better games of the season. That was a game where Blake Vibrett was lights out, scored the best hat trick I've seen him have in his career. And obviously against, the defending region champs, we were very ecstatic about that game. That's why I've kind of got my head up about this regional tournament, hopefully we get a chance to play them or to play Madisonville again.
Well, first of all, you had to get by Hopkins County Central, and that had been a bit of a bugaboo the last couple of years. It seems like you'd get them during the regular season, and then they'd get you back in the playoffs.
Yeah, I was so nervous for that game. I guarantee you I was more nervous than any of my players were, because that was the only thing that would spin around in my head. My first year, we went to penalties in the regular season, and we got the win. Then the following year, we flat out beat them in the regular season. But both years, they got us where it counted in the tournament. But whenever we came out and got that goal in the first minute, that tension eased just a little bit.
Well,
that just sets the tone. And, you know, Madisonville kind of did that to you guys last night, coming out and scoring in the first 2 minutes. You know, it's hard to, you want to build those upset hopes and, you know, and make it a tight game and stay in the game, and they come out and score 2 minutes in. It's really difficult not to put your heads down at that point.
It can be deflating, but that's where your character has to come out. You know, you can either say, okay, we got punched in the mouth. Are we going to punch back, or are we going to sit here and keep taking shots? And unfortunately, we chose the latter option. But we did start the game well. We started the game off, you know, in that first minute, kind of the same thing we did against Hopkins Central. We drove down the right side with Graydon Miller, and he whipped the ball in. It didn't connect on anybody. And then the next 30 seconds, we had a corner kick or a free kick, and nobody went into the box. They all stood at the top of the 18. I was a little confused by that. But after that, you know, finding chances was tough.
Well, there's always sort of a psychological thing with sports, though. I felt like the guys felt like they could beat Hopkins County Central. You know, how do you get to the point where you feel like, hey, legitimately, we can stack up with this Madisonville North Hopkins team?
You just have to understand, I mean, in the world of sports, anything can happen on any day against any team. I mean, we've seen it time and time again, you know, throughout history. You know, you go back to a couple Super Bowls ago where Brady leads that comeback from 24 points down, or, you know, I follow professional soccer pretty well. One of the world's most renowned clubs, Real Madrid, lost to a team called FC Sheriffs, a team that nobody heard of until that day, and lost to them twice. I mean, anything can happen from, you know, youth to the professional level. So you always have to believe that there is a chance, because there is.
But, I mean, there's certainly no shame in losing to a Madisonville North Hopkins. It looks like they're pretty solid, all 11.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I give my credit to the coaching staff and to those players, because the best thing about their game is if you wanted to talk individually about a player, you're probably not going to do it for very long, because you just see how connected they are as a team. You know, they move the ball very well. Their communication's on point. But the most impressive thing for me as a coach is how they move when they don't have the ball. They make sure the guy that has the ball has 2, 3, 4 options to pass to. They overwhelm the defense, and you saw how many chances they can create in a matter of seconds.
Well, it just seems like every year you look at Madisonville, and they've got 7, 8, 9 seniors, and you think, well, when this class moves on, they'll come back a little bit. But then the next year they have another 7, 8, or 9 seniors that were just as good as the guys in front of them.
You know, that's the product of, you know, good infrastructure in their youth system. You know, those kids play middle school, and then they come in through the high school program, and I know those coaches pretty well. A majority of those kids play club soccer with, you know, the Fire up in I can't think of the name of it right now, in Evansville, and play with another developmental club. You know, those kids are playing soccer year-round, every day. It's their life at this point. And, I mean, whenever that's all you do, you learn so much, and then you just transfer it over.
I think the general feeling most of the year has been it's kind of Madisonville and Henderson County in the region. Of course, if they were to draw on the same side of the bracket, you know, for next week's regional tournament, could kind of open up the path on the other side, and there's a lot of teams that could kind of take that road to the championship match.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, we'll be looking to hear that news tomorrow. I believe I've got to be in a Zoom call tomorrow morning to see what kind of draw we get. But, you know, whether we end up on a favorable side or an unfavorable side, it's the same situation. It's an elimination game, and you've got to show up to play that elimination game.
Well, you're going to either get Henderson County or Trigg County or whoever wins the 8th, right? So you like to think if you can stay away from Henderson, you've got a good chance against whoever. Like I said, once you get past Madisonville and Henderson, it seems like it's kind of, and here are 4 or 5 other good teams.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, but it's like I said. I mean, even if we did get that Henderson draw, which people would say is an unfavorable matchup in the situation, you know, it's a team that we happened to put 5 goals on. A bunch of teams did not do that this season. Now, granted, we allowed 8 of them, but you know, we can prepare for that, and we can watch the film of that and figure out where our mistakes were and get ready for it. At the end of the day, when you get into the regional tournament, every game's an elimination game. It really doesn't matter who your opponent is, because if you don't play well, you're going home.
Caldwell County boys soccer coach Tanner Reed is with us this morning. Bob Hayes also in the studio with us. And Tanner, as you go back over the season, like we talked a little bit earlier, you kind of had some difficulties with injuries and COVID and those kind of things, but talk about the progression from the first part of the season to now for you guys.
Well, first part of the season, I got to say, I came in pretty nervous. You know, I gave the boys a little bit of off-season work that they needed to do, some fitness, and we came into our preseason, 2-3 day system. I could tell a lot of them hadn't done it, so we were already behind a little bit. And we went to bluegrass games and, played against teams that we had favorable matchups against, and those did not go our way. So I went home that weekend just kind of shaking my head about a few things. But, then we had the game against Henderson, and we played well. I can't remember our first opponent of the season. Against Webster, we played pretty well, and we started to catch our groove a little bit. But like you said, COVID, sickness, injuries, all that kind of stuff popped us in the mouth a little bit. But I've had players step up, left, right, and center this year. We mentioned Blake Vibrett earlier. He's been my definition of a true leader this year. He's someone that originally wasn't in our captain selection. The players voted Corbin Nichols and Ethan Weatherspoon, which I would completely agree with. They absolutely deserve to be captains. But, you see where Blake Vibrett, you go back to the tournament in the Donnelly Classic, I had him play left back because Ethan had gotten a concussion and Timothy Nichols was just coming back from his COVID illness. So I needed a left back, and he did that. And it's not often you see somebody that scores your goals be willing to drop in and play a defensive role. And, I mean, how often does your leading goal scorer also have a shutout on his record in the season?
Well, Corbin got one in the district semifinals, so you've got at least a couple of those this year.
Yes. They each got one apiece, and now I can stop teasing Corbin saying, Bob's got more shutouts than you this season.
Well, Corbin, though, last night against Madisonville, he was far too busy back there. I mean, you don't want your keeper seeing that many shots, right?
No, absolutely not. But what I will say, the ones that they scored, he shouldn't have saved anyway because they were just great shots off a good buildup. And he saved quite a few shots that he shouldn't have saved. He made some incredible saves last night. It was one of the best games I've seen Corbin play.
Madisonville has a good idea, though, of how to get the ball in spots to score from.
Oh, I mean, they have very deadly wingers that are quite skilled on the ball and can beat most defenders. And even if they can't beat most defenders, they usually send 2 or 3 guys down that side as well. So all they got to do is pass the ball forward, get to the end line, square it back into the box either to the top of the 18 or to the penalty spot. And from that point, it's do you want to shoot now or do you want to pass to another wide open guy that's on the other side? They were very unselfish with the ball as well. You see a guy that I'd go, my player would definitely shoot that ball, but then he squares the ball to a player 20 yards into space, and that guy's going to score.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about all the seniors Madisonville typically has. You're still trying to build to that point. You didn't have any seniors last season, just the 2 this year, although you picked up a couple during the season.
Picked up a couple quality ones. Gabriel Shermer and Filippo Tocola have been excellent additions to our team, and our guys love those guys. They're very involved in what we do, and they've both they've had completely different impacts because one's offensive minded and one's defensive minded, but our team would not have the success that it's had without those boys.
I was going to say those were big pickups for you.
Absolutely. I mean, Gabo defensively, he's very solid. I mean, you look at him, he's just this big German tank. And then Filippo's, the Italian finesser out there. He just makes himself so small. The biggest thing for Filippo is you don't see him give up the ball very much. He knows what's behind him at all times. So if you pressure him, he's just going to give it away to a teammate.
Well, and I was going to say both of them kind of came in already with an understanding of the game.
Yes, they've both played, for their clubs back in their respective countries, and, they've played at high levels, so stepping into our team wasn't going to be an issue for them.
Well, have they mentioned the differences that maybe they see from the game they played at home and the game they're playing here?
A little bit. Of course, I'm a little bit more familiar, just from back whenever I played in college because I've asked about it. The biggest difference between, like an American style versus, an English or a German style, we're usually a little bit more athletic. We're about, hitting the ground hard and making hard tackles and hard challenges, and the game's all focused on speed. But whenever you go abroad, they have that speed, but there's so much more technique and technicality to it. They're very precise in what they do. And, the technical skills of your average 10-year-old is going to look like the average 14-year-old over here, just because they're that far ahead technically.
Well, again, I think they've added just a big part to your team. And like I said, once you got into some of the situations where you had people injured or, not able to play for whatever, those guys ended up being huge for you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when Christian Jones went out with his strand of COVID and we had to find a center back replacement, we dropped Gabriel back there, and he worked well with Bard, and he worked well with Colt, and he looked like he fit, like he'd been there all along. So whenever Christian came back, we moved him up to give him a little leeway to play the long ball that he likes to play and to cut out some things in the middle. And it worked. We started playing some of the best games we'd seen all season. So, like I said before, it might have been a blessing in disguise, some of the sicknesses and things hitting us the way that they did.
The regional soccer tournament is next week over at the Stadium of Champions in Hopkinsville. What are you guys going to work on now to kind of get ready for that, at least until you kind of learn who your opponent is?
Well, we got to focus on us. We got to work on, our defensive shape. We've got to work on our movement and, just doing the little things correctly. We're obviously a good team, or otherwise we wouldn't be in the position that we're in, but we're slower than those better teams to do the things that we need to do, Whereas when Madisonville passes the ball out wide, you see that guy's either quickly taking the player on, or the other two guys are quickly making their run so that he has options. We wait, we pass the ball, we see, is he going to beat him or not? And if he's not going to beat him, then I'm not going to make that run, which is too slow of a decision to make.
Well, good luck to you guys over there at Hopkinsville next week. Hopefully we get a good draw. Hope Madisonville and Henderson end up on the same side of the bracket, and we're on the other side.
No matter what happens, like I said before, it's an elimination game. You got to show up, you got to play your opponent, and you got to go out there and get the job done. So no matter what, we're going to be ready to play, and hopefully we get the results that we want.
I appreciate you coming in this morning and being on the show, and feel free to stick around.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
That is Tanner Reed, and Bob Hayes is with us. Steve Cookie Hicko has come in the building, so we'll talk some Caldwell County Middle School football. We're going to get Chris Ennis on the phone, and he'll talk some football with us as well. So stay with us here on the Sideline Report. Back with more after this on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Hancock's Neighborhood Market.
From the Weather Edge Weather Center, partly sunny skies today. Slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Today's high temperature up to 79 degrees. Partly cloudy tonight, low 60. Mostly sunny for Friday and Saturday. Friday's high 82. Saturday's high 84 degrees. Let's get our forecast today. Isolated shower, thunderstorm possible. Otherwise, partly sunny skies with a high near 79.
Trice Hughes has been serving Western Kentucky for over 60 years. Their experienced sales force, ASE certified techs, and all the friendly folks at Trice Hughes have worked to become your family's exclusive automotive dealer. The home team that's kept our families safe on the road for generations. From work to play and everything in between, your home team has what you need. Stop by and drive the difference. Our home team, Trice Hughes, Highway 91 North in Princeton.
The Cadiz Trigg County Tourism invites you to the 45th Annual Ham Festival, coming to downtown Cadiz October 8th and 9th. Come enjoy the carnival rides, tons of food and craft booths, live music, and the world's largest ham and biscuit. What's not to love about the Ham Festival? Live video coverage will be provided by Cadiz Trigg County Tourism and GoCadiz.com. For more information about the Ham Festival October 8th and 9th, visit GoCadiz.com.
This is the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Getting busy in the studio this morning, getting a little crowded in here. Bob Hayes is still with us. Thanks to Tanner Reed for coming in and being on the show this morning. Steve Cookie Hicko now joins us at a microphone, and we're going to talk about the Caldwell County Middle School football team. And Steve, first of all, quite the season for you guys.
It was. I mean, it's one of those seasons you just hate to stop.
Yeah.
You really do. But unfortunately, with all these athletes that we have on the team, they've got other sports in mind, and so we don't want to get too involved in not allowing them to do everything that they want to do.
Well, we've got Chris Ennis on the phone with us this morning. Chris, what's kind of your take on the middle school football season?
Well, it was a great season. I think that we kind of exceeded expectations in some areas and had some letdowns in others, not being able to finish out with the playoff situation. But sometimes, with the administration's got a lot of hard decisions to make, and they had to make them, and we have to kind of abide by them and move on and look forward to next year.
Well, Chris, thanks for coming on the show this morning. Glad we could get you on the phone. And I know you and Steve have been doing a whole lot of coaching out there to get this team where it was this season.
Yeah, maybe more so Steve than me. I don't know. We kind of follow Steve's lead there most of the time, but for us, it starts in March, April, and this was my first time having football during those times because most times junior pro started, didn't wait till August. But it was different for me. It was a different situation. You've seen a lot of different looks and a lot of different defenses and offenses, and some that looked good, some that didn't. It was just a learning experience all the way around for me.
Well, I was just going to tell everybody to jump in wherever you want to when these questions get thrown around. But, Steve, why were you guys able to have the success this year that you had?
The dedication of the kids, be honest with you. When we, like Coach Enos had said, we tried to start with weightlifting during the winter months, but, obviously the pandemic got us and we weren't able to do that. And I'm not saying that it showed on the field. We felt like some early on in our season, the strength wasn't where we thought, or I guess I thought it should be right now. And I think a lot of it had to do with not getting in the weight room 2 or 3 days a week. But hopefully everything will iron out for next season. But, yeah, the dedication these kids put in. I mean, starting in April and in your season, the end of September, it's a lot of time you spend with kids.
Well, what were the final records again for both teams?
The 8th grade was 9-0. And the 7th grade, if I'm not correct, it was 7-1, and we had a couple of games that the pandemic got a couple of teams. And as I was looking at some of the teams we had played this year, and we're not comparing, our kids just want to play.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of the win-loss records, we're trying to prepare them. And I say we, Coach Stevens, Coach Enos, and Coach Rogers, they do a tremendous job. I mean, it's one of those situations that, at practice every day, we just tell them what we're going to work on. And we try to do it the best of our ability. And I know we're dealing with 13, 14-year-old kids. And sometimes their mindset is not where they need to be. And then sometimes the voices get a little loud to push them a little bit. But, the Christian County game, we were really wanting to play them, and unfortunately we tried to work with them, trying to get them on the schedule. But I was looking at the schedule again. I mean, we're a 2A school, and everybody we played, with the exception of Crittenden County being 1A, were 3A all the way up to a 6A. Does that mean anything to anybody? Not really, but there's more, the bigger schools, they got more kids to choose from.
Yeah, there's a lot more bodies to throw out there. Yeah.
And when you take a Caldwell County team, then in the middle school, we started out the season with 48 kids. We end up with 41. And that's a good number that we're going to send to the high school, the 8th grader wise, because there's 24 of them. But along the way, there's distractions. Some of them maybe that find the sport it's not for them, or other areas in our school system that doesn't allow them to play. And but yeah, we were very, very fortunate to get the games in that we did this year.
Well, and you guys play a schedule that's a lot like the high school varsity schedule, right?
We do. We try to emulate or simulate, I guess, what the high school does. The only team that I'm not being able to schedule is Mayfield. And people say, why you want to do that? I said, well, to me, I just want to try to get as many good teams. And I'm not saying that on our schedule there are some bad teams. Mr. Hayes, thank you again for doing your announcing the games for us. I mean, he was able to see a lot of the home games. He saw what these kids are going to be, looking forward to in the next year or two. And but yeah, we try to, do the best we can in scheduling. The fact that I've already got 2 teams booked for next year, we're trying to correspond the schedules and do that. Hopefully, I was looking at it. We only had, I think, 3 home games this year, so that means we have probably 6 or 7 home games next year.
That'd be good. Yeah.
That'd be great. I mean, we get to play in front of Tiger Stadium and all these kids, and but yeah,
wear my voice out.
Yeah, that's right. And so, but yeah, it's been a very, very good season for these young men, and we're going to reward them this weekend, Sunday afternoon at the Fine Arts Building with their middle school football banquet, and recognize them to doing that. So yeah, pretty cool.
Well, and you want to play people like Mayfield because you want to get the kids accustomed to playing those teams.
Right.
You don't want the first time somebody sees a Mayfield or whatever to be on the high school team, because I think with Caldwell County, I can't speak for everyone, but I think there's still a stigma sometimes when you play Mayfield, and sometimes you kind of play the name on the jersey, on the front of that jersey, instead of the guys in the jerseys. So if you play them early on, it's just another team.
Well, I mean, you're right, Todd, on that comment. I was looking at the schedule again. We played Marshall County, and we've got Christian County, we've got Graves, we've got Hopkinsville, we got Paducah, and we got McCracken County. I mean, those are some teams that to test us how we're going to be when we face them. Not to be that we're going to face all these teams every year that are very, very good. But in the middle school level, we try to prepare them for the high school level when the high school coaches get them, that they know all about winning and losing, I guess. Hopefully more winning than losing. We just want to keep our numbers out and let it go from there. There's one game that Coach Enos can probably attest to this. Early about middle of the season, I just didn't feel like their kids were maybe performing what I thought they could do it. And as Mr. Hayes can attest to this, we got some young men that are very vocal on the field. If somebody's not doing their job, they're going to let them know about that. I've never experienced that in that sense where they just call out their teammates. Mm-hmm. But in the Graves County game, at Graves County, we were down at halftime. And I thought, what do you say to the young men? I mean, what button can you push to see if they're going to respond the second half? And I heard grumbling from our players, not picking on them, but just saying, hey, why can't you make that block? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And halftime, I just told them, we've got to come together. And I think that was a defining point in the middle of our season against Graves County, because I knew we had Hopkinsville, we had Paducah, we had McCracken County coming up, and possibly Christian County. If we don't get through that situation, how are we going to make it through the rest of the season? Right. And I think from that point on, and Coach Enos can chime in here and say something about that, but I think that turned our season around. It really, really did.
Yeah, I would definitely say that was one of our bigger moments in the year. Oftentimes your strongest players are the leaders on the team. Sometimes you have very strong players that are not vocal leaders. But as as a former player and coached for several years, I can tell you a coach can only do so much from the sidelines. He can only do so much in the locker room and then preparation. A lot of times it has to be handled on the field. And not necessarily the way it got called out, but I think the vocalness of that situation kind of at least, propelled us to play together a little more on the field, and maybe some that was trying to lead by some words started actually leading by example. And that kind of helped a lot. I think most of all, our kids go to a smaller school. They know each other. They're friends with each other. They go to each other's house on weekends, and they're all friends. But when you step on that football field, you have to be a team. Everybody on that team has to do their job. And when somebody's not doing their job, to hold them accountable is not only a coaching thing, that is a player thing as well.
Well, and Steve, I think any good high school team has that leadership group. I think it's a sports thing. I always talk about having seniors in high school. Do you guys kind of look at the 8th graders that way on the middle school football team?
I think so, and the administration allowed us to recognize them as far as 8th graders at the last home game, I believe. We had homecoming, and just like what we're going to do tomorrow night here at Tiger Stadium, homecoming, 8th grade recognition. I just feel like that regardless of the situation, regardless if we were 9-0 or 1-9, these kids dedicated themselves in April all the way through September, and they need to be somewhat recognized. And hopefully that I can get with the administration next week and obviously have the kids come into maybe a middle school basketball game and let their I guess their classmates, their peers, the people around them to recognize them during the basketball game. I think these kids take memories when they come away from something after a season, saying, hey, I remember this and this and this had happened. I remember connecting with this young man or whatever it may be, because as coaches, and I think Coach Enos and Coach Stevens and Coach Rogers can attest to this, those that have played right now we enjoy the game, but we live through these kids.
Yeah.
You know, we really do. I mean, people may not understand that, but it still brings a strong connection that we have with these young men and what they perform during the year.
Well, there's always, I talked with the high school coaches about it, and of course you guys are all out there basically on the same practice field with the high school team, and you always want those high schoolers to kind of set a good example, because you know that all those middle school kids at the other end of the field are looking at those guys and waiting for their turn.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, a lot of times we have to holler at our kids. I use the word holler or scream because they're watching what the high school team's doing.
Yeah. And
we got to get them focused on what we need to do for preparation-wise. And going back to our season, Todd, a lot of times we don't have the luxury of watching film. We just have to go by if we can find out some information about our next opponent, what numbers to watch for, what kind of defenses. A lot of times when and it's a good thing. A lot of times when you're undefeated or you go through a season and you haven't lost, people are reluctant about giving information, especially if they haven't played you yet.
Right.
And they don't want to give out too much information, because they want to be that first team. As we started playing the tougher schedule at the end of the year, I liked it. Playing the tougher teams. Because it challenged me and the other coaches as well to let's see what we can do against a good team, and hopefully they were.
Well, I think you learn more about playing a good team, even if you lose to them, than you do. Everybody likes to have an easy game and a win and a laugh for every now and then.
Right.
But do you really learn a whole lot when you beat somebody 63-0?
No, and that's one thing that we didn't want to happen. Now, obviously, we don't know what when we make the schedule, what kind of players they're going to have. And I have great respect for Coach Courtney at Crittenden County. I've coached him years and years ago in a junior pro tournament in Owensboro, and there's several kids down there. Even the head coach now, Gage, is down there. And I have much respect for those two guys because I was able to coach them years and years ago, and now look at what they're doing now. But bless his heart, he came in with a squad from Crittenden County that wasn't probably what he has been accustomed to. And he did the best he can. We're not out there, and I even told our coaches and mainly our players that if we get up to a certain point, then we're going to get a lot of our other kids in.
Yeah.
And I always said at the beginning of the year and the last several years, our most important people on the field are our number 2s and our number 3s.
Yeah.
Because ones, you never know when they're going to go down. It could be like, I always use this illustration. I know everybody talks about Elijah Sindelar, but I remember when he was a 7th grader playing in middle school, and I had the great honor of being around him much. He got hurt in the first game of the season, probably the first series, and he was out for the rest of the year, so to speak, and I'm going, oh, now what are we going to do? So it made me have a mindset of developing other kids in that certain position. So hopefully we've done that. I'm not sure what kids are going to be playing what when they go to high school. I'm sure the coaches are going to put them wherever their need is, and hopefully those kids respond in a lot of ways.
Caldwell County Middle School football coaches Steve Cookie Hicko and Chris Ennis joining us this morning. Bob Hayes still in the studio with us. Need to get to another timeout on the show, but we'll come back and have more after this on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Treasures Remembered Florist and Greenhouse.
From the Weather Edge Weather Center, partly sunny skies today. Slight chance of a shower or thunderstorm. Today's high temperature up to 79 degrees. Partly cloudy tonight, low 60. Mostly sunny for Friday and Saturday. Friday's high 82. Saturday's high 84 degrees. Let's get our forecast today. Isolated shower, thunderstorms possible. Otherwise, partly sunny skies with a high near 79.
Trice Hughes has been serving Western Kentucky for over 60 years. Their experienced sales force, ASE certified techs, and all the friendly folks at Trice Hughes have worked to become your family's exclusive automotive dealer. The home team that's kept our families safe on the road for generations. From work to play and everything in between, your home team has what you need. Stop by and drive the difference. Our home team, Trice Hughes, Highway 91 North in Princeton.
Goodwin Insurance Agency and Woodall Agency have great news. Effective January 1st, they have joined forces to provide even more options for all your insurance needs. Together, they provide the best prices and coverage from top-rated insurance companies and insure all lines of insurance. See Tori Hammett or Fred Foltz, or go to insurewithgoodwin.com for more information. Don't pay too much for your insurance. Let them shop for you and save today.
Back on the Sideline Report here at 1580 103.3 WPKY. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Want to remind you about the C3 lineman of the game from the Mayfield contest last week for the Caldwell County Tigers. The C3 lineman of the game for that game is Connor King. It's the second time, actually the third time, that Connor has been recognized this year. He was the C3 lineman of the game for the Christian County contest. Also, against Crittenden County, the entire line was honored as the lineman of the game for that contest, so congratulations again. The power lineman from C3 Electric, brought to you by C3 Electric, selling and servicing Generac generators, new construction, remodels, and more. With over 24 years experience, you can trust C3 Electric for quality service and installation. Again, we are back on the Sideline Report. WPKY's Bob Hayes is with us this morning. Caldwell County Middle School football coaches Steve Cookie-Hicko and Chris Ennis still with us on the show this morning. And, guys, just again, congratulations on a great season. And like we were talking about earlier, you know, you guys were out there practicing with the high school team, and you kind of get a close look at them. And I've always said that one of the reasons the high school team has had the success it's had, you know, the last 10, 15, 20, however many years you want to go back, is because we have those strong programs and strong coaches at the junior pro level and then the middle school level, so that when these kids get to the high school team, you know, they kind of have a feeling of how to play and what's going on.
That's correct, Todd. You know, and it's all alluded to Coach Barnes. That would be David. When he came to Caldwell County, he picked up the pace a little bit. I mean, you know, and it's, you know, I think a lot of people like that fast-paced game. I know me for one. And you know, there's a lot of teams we played this year that we've gone into games where some of the teams would hold it for the full 40 seconds or more. And I would question the officials. I said, does anybody have a clock that we're keeping up with this? No, you know, I said, well, I mean, they said, well, we're going to do the same for you. And I said, I promise you, it will never get to 40. I mean, because if we ever get to a ball, we're going to snap it whether they're ready or not. I mean, that's just what David had instrumented in our program, and we just kind of filtered down to us. And I like that. And Coach Barnes now is doing the same thing. Yeah. I mean, you know, sometimes according to who your opponent is. And I will say to our linemen this year, they've done a tremendous job, because we were, as Mr. Hayes can see, some of the teams we played at home, they were so much bigger than our kids. But there's so much to be said to them on Sunday at our banquet that I just want them to know how much I know I appreciate it, and Coach Enos and Coach Rogers working with the linemen, that they appreciate it. But yeah, we're trying to do the things that what the high school does at the best of our ability anyway.
Yeah, Chris, you've seen it from a lot of different situations. Talk about that coming through junior pro and middle school and then getting to the varsity level.
Yeah, the biggest difference I see from stepping up is just, you know, the speed of the game for the kids and adapting to, you know, faster, stronger, bigger kids. You know, we've not been blessed in Caldwell with size. I think since Steve was talking about Sindelar, I think that offensive line he had a few years back was one of the bigger offensive lines Caldwell's ever had. And since then, we've just not really had a lot of overwealth of size. So you kind of got to figure out ways to block people on angles or double teams or something to that effect. But, you know, the overall size difference was a big difference this year. Even with teams we beat pretty handily, their teams were way bigger than us most of the time. And that doesn't always equate into wins and losses, how big you are, but it does. The pace of the game is dictated sometimes by, you know, what you're going up against. And I will say this, that The only game I've ever seen Steve Tukihiko take a full 40 seconds was the Tillman game this year, and it was one of the smarter coaching moves that we could make, I thought, going into the game. I thought, Tillman had so many explosive players, we kind of flipped the script on them, and I think it shocked them a little bit that Caldwell County would be going slow. But with going slow, that enabled us to keep the score down, and it also enabled us to kind of dictate who had the ball and when they had the ball. And that made a huge difference. Now, normally Steve's screaming to get up on the ball, let's go. But that one game was one of it was a weird scenario. You had Caldwell actually taking the entire play clock, and I think it even caught the refs by surprise, to be honest with you. But that's the only game I've ever seen that got impacted this year as much as any game that I've ever seen, as far as taking our time and slowing it down and actually milking the clock as much as possible. Now, I think Tillman would say that, we changed, we cheated, we done some different stuff, but what's in the rules of the game? There's a reason why there's a play clock, and you can use it either way. You can either go as fast as you want or as slow as you want, as long as you play within those terms. And but as far as linemen go this year, when I come out in the first part of April, I was trying to figure out ways I could block kids up front by double teams and trying to figure out ways I could scheme, because, we didn't have any size, and ended up playing out pretty well for us as far as wins and losses, with smaller kids. There was some times where our center was outweighed from the nose guard by 150 pounds. It's a testament to our kids on how hard they play.
Well, do we just need to feed kids more? What do we need to do to get some bigger kids?
I don't know about that one. I would like to say it would be a conditioning and weight room situation, but some of that you're not going to be able to do as a coach. It's just genetics, and that's the way it is. It's been an issue for us in junior pro and an issue for Steve in middle school for the last several years that we are a smaller team, and that's just you have ebbs and flows to each county. Counties are only as big as the population and the people that are in it. So you just kind of take what you get and you do the best you can and just see if the kids will play for you. And if they do, you have a successful season like we had this year.
Yeah, Steve, sometimes all you can do is all you can do, right?
That's right. I go back to what we were talking about in the commercial a while ago. We've got several young men, and that it would be I would never attempt to mention all of them, but Mr. Hayes was up in the box, and he could see some of these kids, and he may have a list of names or kids that he was excited about, and you may want to talk about them.
Well, Steve, I do. I got to see 3 of the nights that we played this year, and the 7th graders are less in numbers than the 8th graders, but I was impressed with the 7th graders. And you're right, I don't really want to name a lot of names, but just starting out at the 7th grade level, and I know this 7th grader played quite a bit in the 8th grade game, is Ari Wells, and he knows what the game is about. Dalen Lander, we got people that can throw the ball at the 7th grade level and at the 8th grade level, which makes us an effective football team. If we can't throw it, we just got to run it. Teams would pack in their defenses and stop the run, but the quarterback for the 8th grade team, Jack Roach, to me developed quite a bit as the season went on, and one of the backs we were throwing to or giving the ball off to, Cooper Mobley, is going to have a really, really nice high school career, in my opinion. Isaiah McGowan got loose on several runs. Just several outstanding players on that team. And during the break, in the last game that I had was September 28th, I was impressed with Sutton Ritchie, who did the kicking for us. I didn't realize he was injured throughout the year, but if you wanted a pooch kick, he gave you a pooch kick. If you wanted it to the 10-yard line, 5-yard line in the air, that's where it went. And I'm sitting up in the booth thinking, this kid's an 8th grader and doing what some seniors can't do in kicking off. But a lot of kids, and the other thing that from my viewpoint is the more intelligent a kid is, the better you can make a football player out of him, because they understand what's going on. And to what Chris was saying, as far as the offensive line, I think we always will have maybe a 6 foot, 6'1", 220, 230-pound lineman. We won't have any of these 6'6", 310-pound linemen, and if we do, they probably won't be able to play very well. So it's technique, and it's blocking schemes, and it's drive. It's how bad do you want it kind of thing. And I think our 8th graders and 7th graders certainly displayed that to me throughout the year. And we've got several players, I think, that can play multiple positions.
They do, and you mentioned a few of them. As a coach, and this is just as me speaking, when you get a group of young men that are dedicated to the sport and they want to work at it, you don't have to do much. Like I said earlier, we live through these kids. And they perform at a level that I just can't comprehend right now. I'm fortunate enough to have these kids come around every year, and one of the things was, and you mentioned Cooper, in the Paducah game. That was 2 undefeated teams playing each other. The hype was already built up. With social media and everything, and it could be a good thing or a bad thing. But we went down there, and we had called a particular play where we were running to our right, which we thought, and we overloaded that side, and we wanted to run a play with Cooper to the right side. Well, for some reason, me not telling him, he went left. Yeah. He saw everybody shift over, and he went through the B gap and scored an easy touchdown. I'm going, everybody thought, great call, Coach. Well, I can tell you right now, I didn't call that. That was Cooper as an 8th grader.
Well, it's his vision and his savvy,
right,
and the ability to know where the weakness is on the field.
Yeah, you can't teach that. You can't teach that as much
That's
as
instinct.
Let me jump in right here and say this is the Sideline Report on WPKY Princeton. Appreciate everybody joining us this morning. Bob, thanks for coming in, and hate to cut everybody off, but we're kind of running out of time. And great season for you guys, Steve and Chris, and keep up the good work, and good luck with the banquet this weekend. And as always, really appreciate you guys being willing to come on the show and spend some time with us.
Okay, thanks, Todd, for having me.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you, Todd.
All right, appreciate it, everybody. And big game coming up Friday night out at Tiger Stadium. Tigers hosting Fort Campbell. Bob, senior night, homecoming. Going to be a busy night.
Going to be a busy night, and hopefully we won't have to worry about losing the football game tomorrow night.
All right, Fort Campbell coming up. You can hear it right here on WPKY Friday night. Volleyball on the air tonight. It's senior night for the Lady Tigers. Caldwell County's girls hosting Massac County out at the Cab. And again, Sue Stone will be out there, and we'll have all the action for you right here on WPKY. Thanks to Bob Hayes for coming in this morning, Caldwell County boys soccer coach Tanner Reed for joining us, and Caldwell County middle school football coaches Steve Cookie Hicko and Chris Ennis being on the show. This is Todd Griffin. Thanks for listening to the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
WPKY Princeton.
Fox News. I'm Chris Foster. The drug company Pfizer is asking for federal approval of its coronavirus vaccine for children 5 to 11 years old. A Food and Drug Administration advisory panel will discuss the evidence October 26th. President Biden will be in Chicago today to talk about workplace coronavirus vaccine mandates.
Ahead of the trip, a White House official says they're releasing a new report that says vaccine requirements are putting people back to